Welcome back on Dynamode. I want to propose you a cycle of videos about the Codex Necron released in 2018 by the Games Workshop. These videos will be about the different part of the Codex Necron itself. So each video it will be a part, and it is done so in the way that I can concentrate, I can focus on a specific theme that I'll treat in that video in particular, so that you can see the different videos together if you are interested to all the part about the Codex Necron that I can talk about, or see only the part that you are interested in. So now we can begin. And this video is about the dynasties. The thing about the dynasty that you have to remember about is that it's equivalent to a Space Marine chapter, so it's a keyword. In this case, all the units that will have that type of keyword will have the bonuses that are implying about the keyword itself that you bring. So different dynasties will bring different bonuses. You can have this as a way to choose which dynasties to follow, and moreover which units make follow a dynasty in particular. But you have to remember that if you follow this type of thing, each detachment has to follow the same dynasty to receive the bonuses about the dynastic codes. So remember this thing, and remember that there is such limitation, but you can have different detachment with different dynasties if you want. What went best is that, contrary to, for example, the Blood Angels Codex, you don't have problems about the dynasty codes and the usage for different armies. So if you want to invent your own chapter, you have usually to not be able to have the access to different bonuses from, for example, a principal chapter. In this case, anyway, if you want to create your own dynasty, now you can instead anyway use that dynasty codes. So the only problem that you could have, it will be about the usage of the special characters and the usage of that dynasty, because you have a bit of problem because the dynasty correspond, but you have a problem about the colors of the army. Anyway, it's not a main problem because the Necrons simulate different dynasties in the case, so it's not a problem at the end. But you have to remember the usage that it's more free than, for example, a Codex of Blood Angels. Anyway, you have to remember that there are units that can be included in the detachment of Necrons without preventing other units in the detachment from gaining the Dynasty Codex themselves. So it's quite interesting in this case because it lets you to have a specific model with some certain rules that can allow you to use rules to improve the detachment or the units of the Necron in general. So you have to take note of those units that are the Anrakir the Traveler, Luminor Zeras, the Triarch Praetorians, the Triarch Stalkers, and the Tarn Shards units. So you have to remember that are these models that can be really useful, and at the same time we put in the detachments without ruining the dynastic codes of the detachments themselves. The first dynasty that we talk about is the Southtech, and it's really an interesting dynasty code, because it lets you, if a unit with this code advance, so it run, it treats all ranged weapon that it's equipped with as an assault weapon until the end of the turn. So it means that it becomes all the weapons as assault ones. It means that you don't have the problem about not being able to fire or other things. So you are able to gain all the advantages, and it's really a great thing. Moreover, there is another effect. It's that unless it has advanced, a unit with this code not suffer the penalty hit rules for moving and firing with heavy weapons. So it becomes really an interesting dynasty code, because it lets you really having a sort of machine spirit. So all the units with the dynasty code are as firing without any penalty with heavy weapons moving, so it let you having a improving in the way to fire. Moreover, if you only move, you can use without penalty the heavy weapons, but if you run, you are able to gain the assault, so you are able really to have a continuous firing without any problems. And it's quite good if you think that you can, for example, trying to escape or you try to conquer objects and at the same time having the ability anyway to be able to fire. This is an ability that I think suits quite good, for example, for the Necron Warriors, the Immortals, the Deathmarks, so all the units that has a possibility to fire at the same time to be able to really gain advantage about it. Imagine, for example, having the destroyers with this ability. Okay, it doesn't change about only the moving because they have the repulsor platform, so they don't have such problem about the heavy weapons. But if they run, they're able anyway to fire with the Gauss cannons, so it's really an interesting thing to remember about, gaining quite a lot of things. So you have to gain quite a lot of thoughts about using in this way the different units that can fire. Moreover, remember that you can use this dynasty for gaining quite a lot of advantages using the way to fire. So for foot units and also for some vehicle ones can become quite an interesting thing to use this type of dynasty in the way to fire quite a lot. So take note about this dynasty for sure. The second dynasty code that we treat about is the Method one. It's the one that has come out with the Shield of Baal campaign, and it's really quite an interesting one because let you each time a model with this code shoots an enemy unit that is within half the range of its weapon maximum range to have a bonus of a 1 to their penetration characteristic weapon. So it becomes that the one with 0 of penetration 1 become to having a -1. So it's even more gaining for the weapons that has a lot of firing but not penetration weapons. It's really amazing one, this thing. Again, we can see, for example, the Necron Warriors, how much they can gain, and the Immortals too, because have quite a lot of interesting way. Even the Deathmarks can have quite an interesting amount, because being rapid fire and with the ability to make the hunters from the hyperspace, they can gain quite a lot in this way, because they have the ability to fire quite a lot and having also a VP that make even ignore the covers for some models, so becomes really quite an interesting one as a dynasty code. Even think only to have, for example, the Tesla weapons, here you can gain the way to have Tesla weapons that has a bonus that let you compare to the ones with the Gauss type. So it's quite an interesting type of dynasty code that you really have to take care about. The third dynasty code that we treat is the Novok, that let you reroll the failed hit rolls in the fight phase, only fight phase, for units with this code that as charged, were charged, or were performed a heroic intervention for this turn. So it becomes really an interesting one for the detachments that involve quite a lot the way to combat. So, for example, the one has the canopted traits, the Lich Guard, even the flight ones if you want, because they can gain quite a lot of improving in their fighting, or simply only for the Catacomb Command Barge, so it becomes quite an interesting one as Dynasty Code in the way to use for the combat way. So you have to think about using this because it can be quite an interesting one. The next interesting one is the Nihilak, that let you reroll hit rolls of 1 for units that has this cause whenever they shoot, including when firing Overwatch, so it's becoming interesting even only for this one, as long they didn't move in the preceding movement phase and they did not disembark from transports during this turn. And it's not so good if you think about, because anyway you have the function to be rerolling the ones only if you didn't move, but it's also true that let you having the option to do such a thing even with the Overwatch. So it's not a bad thing, but let you think this usage of this army in the way to have a defensive option. So you have to think about using really good this dynasty code only if you are valuing quite good the detachment that you put on. So take quite a good note about this, because it can be interesting, but only if you have a certain type of usage of this code itself. So it's quite interesting in a way, this dynasty code, but it's not quite good. It's good only if you are able to really use this dynasty code for yourself. And the last of the dynasty codes in this book is the Necron one, that let you, if a unit with this code advances, add 6 inch to its movement characteristic for that movement phase instead of rolling a dice. So it means that you has been always rolling a 6 on the advance, so it's not a bad thing. In addition, if a unit with this code advances more than adding the 6 to that dice, so it's directly a rolling of 6, it lets you flying more over these the opponent's units, your units, so it can become really quite good, because it's like a translocation, so it's quite as you are flying. So it's an interesting way in the way to be able to make quite a lot of advancement with your units. It's surely a dynasty course that let you really bring units where you want without having too much problems, because having the movement, for example, for the Necron's troops, like the Immortals, being able to move directly off 11 inch instead of 5 inch, it's quite an interesting one. And it lets you avoid the usage, for example, of Nightshides if you want to make some movements faster. So okay, you anyway are running, so most of the times you'll not be able to fire, but anyway let you do quite a lot advance fast. So units that use for the reaching of the combat or so on can find the combat easier and faster, or conquer faster the objectives. So you have to take note about these dynasty codes in the thinking of gaining mobility. So you have to pay attention if it can be useful for your type of fighting. So take note about these dynasty codes, because it can be quite an interesting one. In the end, I think that almost all the dynasty codes can be considered really interesting. Anyway, you have to think quite attentively if a dynasty code suits your way to play, and moreover, if it's better to use only a detachment for a dynasty code in peculiar and the other detachment for the use of other detachments. So you can personalize quite a lot the way that you play your army. Remember that there are the problems about the dynasty, so dynasty doesn't influence themselves, so you have to pay attention to this way to use, but in a way there can be really quite interesting usage of this dynasty course in the way to have a really great improvement in your abilities to play the Necron army. So it's something that I suggest you to take note and think quite attentively the ones that you want to choose for your army. Anyway, I suggest you to try them, every one of them, and then decide which one suits you better and in the ways that you prefer to play, because they give you quite a lot of different options, and it will be a pity not to use them, for sure. Anyway, from Dynamod, it's everything. I invite you to put a like on this video, to subscribe to the channel, to ring the bell, and to comment this video if you are interested in something about this video, or you want to suggest me some arguments for other videos. I hope to see you again to the next time.